First contact. In the depths of the Zorgan Empire, alarms blared throughout the capital ship Imperator's command deck. Admiral Zolax rushed to the holo-display, his reptilian eyes widening at the sight before him. "It can't be," he muttered. "Check the readings again." His first officer, Commander Zaxxer, manipulated the controls and shook his head. "No mistakes, sir. Long-range scans have detected an unknown spacefaring species. They call themselves humans." Zolax scowled as data streamed across the screen. "But look at those readings. Their ships are primitive, no visible weapons or shields. Are we certain this isn't some pre-FTL civilization?" "No, sir," Zaxxer replied. "They've colonized their local star systems, basic railguns and fusion drives. But nothing compared to us." The Admiral paced across the deck, his claws clicking against the alloy floor. For millennia, the Zorgans had reigned supreme, their technology unmatched. They'd uplifted countless primitive races, assimilating them into the Empire. But this felt different. "Bring their homeworld up on screen," Zolax commanded. A blue-green planet materialized, its continents dotted by sprawling cities. Zaxxer gasped. "Sir, their population readings are off the charts. 15 billion on the homeworld alone. Their colonies number in the hundreds of millions." Zolax blinked in astonishment. In all their cycles of expansion, they'd never seen a species spread so far with such limited technology. He turned to the comms officer. "Hail the Emperor. His Majesty must hear of this at once." "Yes, Admiral." The officer saluted, putting through the instant communication to Zorgax's Prime. Soon, the imposing visage of Emperor Zaximus shimmered into view. He waved a clawed hand impatiently. Yes, Admiral. I've read the initial contact reports. Most intriguing, if strategically insignificant. Primitive species and their rapid expansion despite their limited weapons capability." Zaximus leaned forward, his scaled brow furrowed in thought. "This could be an opportunity, Admiral. If we move quickly, this species could be integrated into the Empire with minimal resistance. Their numbers alone would provide a near-endless stream of labor and conscripts." "But sire," Zolax replied hesitantly, "what of our uplifting protocols? We've never assimilated a species at this stage of development before. The potential for culture shock alone." The Emperor silenced him with a wave. "We are Zorgans, Admiral. We do not coddle lesser races. We conquer them." His eyes narrowed. "Send a scouting party to this Earth. Let us take the measure of these humans before we decide their fate. If they resist, well, it has been too long since our legions tasted the glory of righteous conquest." The command deck fell silent as Zaximus' words hung in the air. Finally, Zolax saluted. "By your will, my Emperor, the scout ships will depart at once." As the transmission ended, Zolax turned to his crew, a sense of unease settling in his gut. In all their long history, the Zorgans had faced many challenges. But somehow, these mysterious humans felt different. It was as if the galaxy itself held its breath, waiting to see what might unfold from this fateful first contact. Zolax shook off his disquiet. They were Zorgans, the greatest civilization ever to rise from the cosmic seas. Whatever challenges these humans might pose, they would face them as they always had, with unwavering discipline, and the might of their incomparable war machine. The galaxy would soon learn the price of standing against the eternal empire. On the fringes of Sol system, a battered human exploration vessel drifted through the void. Captain Alexis Novik gripped the armrests of her command chair as her crew scrambled to restore main power. "Status report," she barked. "Main reactor offline," her engineer replied, wiping sweat from his brow. "The radiation surge from that solar flare fry our power couplings. It'll be hours before we're mobile again." Alexis grimaced. The ISV Magellan was the first of its kind, a joint project between Earth's major space agencies. Their mission was to map stellar phenomena near the heliopause in preparation for further extrasolar expeditions. No one had expected a solar flare of such magnitude this far out. "Captain," her sensor officer called out, a note of alarm in his voice. Picking up unusual readings at the edge of sensor range. Some sort of spatial distortion. Alexis whipped around to face the view screen. "Put it up." The screen flickered, then resolved into an image that sent a chill down her spine. A trio of angular ships hung in the void, their hulls black as pitch and studded with pulsing crimson lights. They were unlike anything she'd ever seen. "My God," she whispered. "Hail them. All frequencies." The comms officer shook his head. "No response, Captain." "Wait, we're being scanned." Alexis' heart raced as the implications sank in. This was humanity's first contact with an alien race, and here they were, helpless and exposed. She swallowed hard. "Steady now," she said, fighting to keep her voice calm. "Let's not do anything rash. Try hailing them again." Suddenly, the deck lurched beneath her feet. Klaxons blared as the ship shook violently. "Report," she shouted. "Some kind of tractor beam." The helmsman replied. "They've locked onto us. We're being pulled in." Alexis gripped the arms of her chair until her knuckles turned white. She'd spent her whole career preparing for this moment, the chance to meet another intelligent species. But now, faced with the unknown, she felt a primal surge of fear. She shoved it down, forcing herself to think. They had to find a way to communicate, to show these aliens they meant no harm. The fate of her ship, her crew, and perhaps all of humanity hung in the balance. As the alien ships loomed ever closer, Alexis met the eyes of her crew. In them, she saw the same fear, the same desperate hope. They were all in this together. "First contact protocols," she said, her voice steady. "Broadcast on all frequencies. Let's show them what humanity is made of." The crew scrambled to comply as the Magellan was drawn inexorably toward the waiting alien ships. Alexis closed her eyes for a moment, offering a silent prayer to whatever gods might be listening. They were about to take humanity's first steps into a larger universe, and God help them. They had no idea what lay ahead, but one thing was certain: the course of human history would be forever changed. As the human ship disappeared into the alien hangar, the stage was set for a confrontation that would echo across the stars. Two civilizations, each shaped by the crucible of their own histories, were about to collide. And the galaxy would tremble at their meeting. Cultural exchange. In the cavernous hangar of the Zorgan ship, Captain Alexis Novak and her crew emerged cautiously from the airlock, hands raised in a universal gesture of peace. A phalanx of armored Zorgan soldiers greeted them, energy rifles trained on the humans. Admiral Zolak stepped forward, his uniform bristling with medals and rank insignia. He towered over Alexis, his reptilian eyes glittering with intelligence and cunning. "I am Admiral Zolax of the Zorgan Empire," he said, his voice a sibilant hiss. "You are now guests of the Eternal Throne. Come with me." Alexis glanced back at her crew, then nodded. "I'm Captain Alexis Novak of the ISV Magellan. We come in peace." Zolax's lipless mouth twitched in what might have been a smile. "We shall see." As the humans were marched through the ship's corridors, they marveled at the advanced technology on display. Holographic displays flickered with strange glyphs, and the air hummed with the thrum of powerful engines. They were brought to an expansive chamber dominated by a massive viewport. Beyond lay the looming bulk of the Zorgan capital ship, dwarfing the Magellan like a minnow beside a whale. Alexis gasped as she saw Earth in the distance, a blue-green jewel against the stars. Zolax regarded her reaction with curious eyes. "Your homeworld," he said, "a primitive planet for a primitive species, and yet you have achieved so much with so little." Alexis bristled at the condescension in his tone. "We may not have your technology, but we've got heart and ingenuity. That counts for something." Zolax made a clicking noise that might have been laughter. "Spirit and cleverness are poor substitutes for plasma cannons and singularity shields. But no matter. Soon, your people will have all the benefits of Zorgan science." "What do you mean?" Alexis asked warily. The Zorgan Empire has watched your species for some time, Zolax replied. Your rapid expansion, your ceaseless warring among yourselves. Left unchecked, you could become a threat, or an opportunity. He turned to face her, his eyes hard. The Emperor has decreed that humanity shall be uplifted, brought into the fold of the eternal throne. Your people will become part of the Zorgan Empire, serving as loyal subjects. Alexis felt a chill run down her spine. And if we refuse? Zolax's smile was cold and cruel. Then you will be conquered, your civilization ground to dust beneath the treads of our war machines. The choice is yours, Captain. Serve or be destroyed. Alexis clenched her fists, anger and fear warring within her. She knew humanity was outmatched, but the thought of surrendering their freedom, their very identity, was galling. I'll need to consult with my superiors, she said carefully. A decision like this can't be made lightly. Zolax inclined his head. Of course. You have one cycle to decide. In the meantime, you and your crew will be given a tour of our ship to see the wonders of Zorgan technology firsthand. He gestured to a pair of guards. Escort them to the guest quarters. See that they are comfortable. As Alexis and her crew were led away, she couldn't shake the sense of dread that settled over her. The fate of humanity hung by a thread, and she was the one holding the scissors. On Earth, news of the alien contact spread like wildfire. Governments convened emergency meetings, and the media whipped the public into a frenzy of speculation and fear. In the halls of power, debates raged. Some called for immediate surrender, arguing that resistance was futile. Others demanded humanity fight, even if it meant annihilation. But a small group of scientists and military leaders had a different plan. They had been preparing for this day for decades, ever since the first whispers of alien life had reached Earth's telescopes. In secret facilities across the globe, they had been developing weapons and strategies designed specifically to combat a technologically superior foe. Reverse-engineered alien tech, autonomous drone swarms, AI-guided missiles, all the product of humanity's desperate ingenuity. Now, as the Zorgan threat loomed, they put their plans into action. If the aliens thought humanity would go quietly into the night, they were sorely mistaken. Back on the Zorgan ship, Alexis and her crew were led through vaulted corridors and vast manufacturing bays. They saw enormous war machines under construction, their hulls bristling with weaponry. But they also saw something else. Distant, here and there, they caught glimpses of Zorgan workers huddled in furtive conversation, their eyes dark with resentment. Alexis filed that information away, a seed of an idea taking root in her mind. If there were cracks in the Zorgan Empire, perhaps humanity could exploit them. As the tour drew to a close, they were brought back to Zolax's command chamber. The admiral was waiting, his expression unreadable. "Well, Captain," he asked, "have you made your decision?" Alexis took a deep breath. She thought of Earth, of all the billions of lives hanging in the balance. She thought of her crew, of the trust they placed in her. And she made her choice. "Humanity will never surrender," she said, her voice ringing with conviction. "We'll fight you with every breath, every ounce of strength we possess. We may go down, but we'll go down swinging." Zolax's eyes narrowed. "Then you have sealed your doom. Guards, take them to the brig. Let them contemplate their folly as we prepare for war." As Alexis and her crew were dragged away, she caught a final glimpse of Earth through the viewport. A single tear rolled down her cheek. The die was cast. The war for humanity's future had begun. And in that moment, Alexis swore an oath. No matter the cost, no matter the sacrifice, she would fight for her people, for her planet, even if it meant her own life. In the heart of the Zorgan ship, a different sort of meeting was taking place. Zorgan anthropologists and historians had gathered to study the wealth of data they had collected on human culture and history. They pored over ancient texts and modern documents, marveling at the contradictions they found. A species capable of soaring works of art and philosophy, yet also prone to the most brutal acts of violence and cruelty. They are a paradox, one scholar mused. Such potential for greatness, yet they squander it on petty conflicts and short-sighted greed. Another shook his head. But look at what they have achieved despite their limitations. They have split the atom, sequenced their own genome, even taken their first steps into the cosmos. A third, an old veteran of many uplifting campaigns, snorted derisively. And yet they cling to their individuality, their chaos. They refuse the order and stability of the empire. They are a threat, nothing more. The debate raged on, a microcosm of the larger conflict that loomed. For all their knowledge, all their study, the Zorgans still could not grasp the fundamental nature of the human spirit. They could not understand the fierce, unquenchable fire that burned in the human heart, the will to fight, to survive, to be free. It was this fire that would be humanity's greatest weapon in the trials to come. And it was this fire that the Zorgans, in their cold calculations and rigid hierarchies, had fatally underestimated. As the scholars argued and the warships gathered, the stage was set for a clash of civilizations unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Earth stood on the brink, its fate hanging in the balance. But even in their darkest hour, humanity would not go gently into the night. They would rage against the dying of the light. Mounting tensions, in the depths of the Zorgan Empire, Emperor Zaximus presided over a council of war. His most trusted advisors and military leaders were gathered, their faces grim. "The humans have refused our offer of uplift," Admiral Zolax reported, his voice thick with disdain. "They cling to their primitive ways, their chaotic individuality." Zaximus's eyes narrowed. "Then they have chosen their fate. We will bring them into the fold by force." But not all were convinced. General Zaxos, a grizzled veteran of many campaigns, spoke up. "My lord, I urge caution. The humans may be primitive, but they are not to be underestimated. Their history is one of tenacity and ingenuity in the face of overwhelming odds." Zaximus waved a clawed hand dismissively. "They are but insects before the might of the eternal throne. We will crush them swiftly and absolutely." But Zaxos persisted. "Sire, our own studies show that the humans are most dangerous when cornered. They have a saying, 'A wounded animal is the most fierce. If we press them too hard, they may lash out in ways we cannot predict.'" The Emperor's gaze was cold and unyielding. "Then we shall grind them to dust. Prepare the fleet. Earth will fall, and the humans will learn their place at the feet of their Zorgan masters." As the council dispersed, Zaxos lingered, his heart heavy. He had seen the fire in the humans' eyes, the fierce determination. He feared that in their quest for domination, the Zorgans may have bitten off more than they could chew. On Earth, humanity prepared for war. In secret bunkers and research facilities, scientists and engineers worked feverishly to develop new weapons and defenses. Captain Alexis Novak, now hailed as a hero for her defiance of the Zorgans, was at the forefront of these efforts. She pored over the data they had gathered from their brief time on the Zorgan ship, looking for weaknesses to exploit. "Their technology is advanced, but not infallible," she told her team. "Every system has a flaw. We just need to find it." As the days ticked by, the tension mounted. Zorgan ships were spotted in the outer reaches of the solar system, their numbers growing by the hour. But humanity was not idle. Across the globe, armies mobilized and citizens prepared for the worst. In a show of unprecedented unity, old rivalries and conflicts were set aside in the face of the common threat. Yet even as humanity girded itself for battle, there were those who whispered of a different path. Diplomats and peace activists argued that war was not the answer, that there must be a way to find common ground with the Zorgans. But their voices were drowned out by the drumbeat of war. The Zorgans had made their intentions clear, and humanity would not go down without a fight. As the final preparations were made, Alexis stood on the bridge of her new ship, the ISV Phoenix. It was a vessel unlike any other, a fusion of human and Zorgan technology, a testament to humanity's adaptability and resolve. She looked out at the stars. knowing that somewhere among them, the Zorgan fleet was waiting. She thought of all the lives at stake, all the hopes and dreams that hung in the balance. "Hold fast," she whispered, as much to herself as to her crew. "We're coming for you." In the shadows of the Zorgan ship, a figure moved with furtive purpose. Zaxos, the general who had spoken out against the invasion, slipped into a secluded comm room. With trembling claws, he activated a secure channel. "This is Zaxos," he said softly. "I need to speak with Captain Novak. It's about the invasion." There was a crackle of static. Then Alexis's voice filled the room. "I'm here, General. What have you got for me?" Zaxos took a deep breath. "A warning and an opportunity. The Emperor is determined to crush humanity, but not all of us agree with his methods. There are those of us who believe in a different way, a path of cooperation and mutual respect." Alexis was silent for a long moment. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I believe you are our best hope for peace," Zaxos said. "You have shown bravery and wisdom beyond your years. If anyone can find a way to bridge the gap between our species, it is you." "What do you propose?" Alexis asked. "A meeting, in secret. I can arrange to have you brought aboard the Emperor's ship. If you can convince him to listen, to see the potential in humanity, perhaps this war can be averted." Alexis felt a flicker of hope in her chest. It was a long shot, but if there was even a chance of stopping the bloodshed. "I'll do it," she said. "But I'll need assurances, my safety, and a guarantee that you'll help us if things go wrong." "You have my word," Zaxos said. "But you must hurry. The fleet is almost ready. We don't have much time." As the transmission ended, Alexis leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. She was about to take the biggest gamble of her life. The fate of two civilizations balanced on the edge of a knife. But if there was one thing humanity had learned in its long, tumultuous history, it was that sometimes the greatest victories came from the most unlikely of places. Alexis stood, squaring her shoulders. She had a meeting to prepare for, a meeting that could change the course of the galaxy, and she would not fail. Not when so much depended on it. Invasion. The Zorgan fleet hung in the void above Earth, 1,000 ships strong. Their hulls gleamed in the light of the sun, a phalanx of destruction waiting to be unleashed. On the bridge of the flagship, Emperor Zaximus stood tall, his eyes fixed on the blue-green world below. "The time has come," he said, his voice a low growl. "Begin the invasion." Across the fleet, alarms blared and troops poured into dropships. The might of the Zorgan Empire was about to be brought to bear on the unsuspecting humans. But Earth was not as defenseless as the Zorgans believed. As the first drop pods streaked through the atmosphere, they were met with a hail of fire from ground-based laser cannons and missile batteries. The Zorgans were taken aback by the ferocity of the human resistance. They had expected the primitive species to cower in fear, but instead they fought with a tenacity and skill that belied their technological inferiority. In the skies above major cities, Zorgan fighters clashed with human jet fighters in dizzying dogfights. The aliens had the advantage of superior technology, but the humans had the edge in tactics and sheer audacity. On the ground, Zorgan troops found themselves bogged down in brutal urban warfare. The humans used their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage, luring the aliens into ambushes and traps. But for all their bravery, the humans were slowly being pushed back. The Zorgans' numbers and firepower were simply too great. In the command bunker beneath Washington, D.C., world leaders watched the tide of battle with growing despair. Despite their best efforts, the Zorgans were gaining ground. But Alexis Novak had not given up hope. With the help of General Zaxos, she had infiltrated the Zorgan flagship, determined to confront the Emperor and find a way to end the war. As she was brought before Zaximus, Alexis could feel the weight of history upon her. She knew that the fate of two civilizations rested on her next words. "Emperor Zaximus," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I come to you not as a conqueror, but as an equal. I ask that you halt this invasion and listen to what I have to say." The Emperor regarded her with cold, reptilian eyes. "And why should I listen to a primitive ape like you?" Alexis met his gaze unflinchingly. "Because we have more in common than you think. Like you, we are a proud and determined species. We have faced challenges and overcome them, just as you have." She took a step forward, her voice growing more passionate. "But we have also learned the hard lessons of war and conflict. We have seen the toll it takes, the lives it destroys. And we have found that there is another way, a path of cooperation and mutual understanding." Zaximus snorted derisively. "You speak of weakness and compromise. The Zorgan way is one of strength and dominion." But Alexis could see a flicker of doubt in his eyes. "Strength comes in many forms, Emperor. The strength to fight, yes, but also the strength to forgive, to find common ground. That is the true measure of a great civilization." For a long moment, the Emperor was silent. Then, slowly, he stood. "You speak with a wisdom beyond your years, human. Perhaps there is more to your species than meets the eye." He turned to his generals. "Halt the invasion. Recall the troops. It seems we have much to discuss with our new allies." And so, in a twist of fate that would echo through the ages, the war ended not with a bang, but with a whisper. In the days and weeks that followed, delegations from Earth and the Zorgan Empire met to hammer out the details of their newfound peace. It was a process fraught with tension and disagreement, but also with moments of remarkable understanding and grace. Alexis Novik found herself at the center of these negotiations, a bridge between two worlds. With General Zaxos at her side, she worked tirelessly to find common ground and build lasting bonds between human and Zorgan. And slowly, tentatively, a new era dawned. Trade routes were established, cultural exchanges initiated. Zorgan technology helped to solve some of Earth's most pressing problems, while human ingenuity and creativity brought new light to the staid Zorgan society. It was not a perfect peace, for no peace ever is. There were still those on both sides who harbored resentment and mistrust. But it was a start, a foundation upon which a brighter future could be built. As for Alexis, she found herself changed by her experiences. The weight of command, the burden of responsibility. These things had forged her into something new, something stronger. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges and setbacks, moments of doubt and fear. But she also knew that if humans and Zorgans could find a way to come together, then anything was possible. The universe was vast and filled with wonders, and Alexis Novak was ready to meet them head-on. For she had seen the power of understanding, the strength in diversity, and she knew that together, there was no limit to what they could achieve. Turning the tide. In the heart of the Zorgan flagship, a tense standoff was unfolding. Alexis Novak, flanked by a small group of human soldiers and Zorgan defectors led by General Zaxos, faced down Emperor Zaximus and his loyal guards. "You have gone too far, Zaxos," Zaximus hissed, his claws flexing. "To betray your own kind for these primates, it is unthinkable." Zaxos stood firm, his eyes blazing with conviction. "No, my Emperor, it is you who have gone too far. In your quest for dominion, you have forgotten the very principles that make us Zorgan. Honor, wisdom, compassion. These are the true measures of a great civilization." Zaximus snarled, his tail lashing. "You dare lecture me? I have led our people to the greatest heights of power and glory. But at what cost?" Alexis interjected, stepping forward. "Your conquests have brought only suffering and resentment. Is that the legacy you wish to leave?" The Emperor's gaze snapped to her, filled with venomous rage. "You know nothing of leadership, human. You are weak, all of you, clinging to your individuality, your petty freedoms. The Zorgan way is order, control, perfection." Alexis shook her head sadly. "You're wrong. Our individuality is our strength. It's what allows us to adapt, to innovate, to dream. Yes, it can lead to conflict and chaos, but it also leads to beauty, to progress, to hope." She looked around at the assembled Zorgans, her voice growing stronger. I have seen the discontent in your ranks, the resentment of those who tire of endless war and conquest. You have a choice, to continue down this path of destruction, or to embrace a new way, a way of cooperation, of mutual respect. Zaximus laughed bitterly. And who will follow this new way? Who will defy the might of the eternal throne? I will. Zaxos stepped forward, his head held high. And so will all those who believe in a better future for our people. One by one, Zorgans began to step forward, moving to stand with Zaxos and the humans. Engineers, scholars, even soldiers, a groundswell of support for a new vision. Zaximus looked around in disbelief, his grip on power slipping away. Traitors, all of you. I will have your heads for this. But it was too late. The tide had turned. Faced with the united front of human and Zorgan, the Emperor had no choice but to surrender. In the days that followed, a new treaty was forged between Earth and the Zorgan Empire. Borders were redrawn, trade agreements signed, cultural exchanges initiated. It was a fragile peace, but a peace nonetheless. Alexis Novik found herself at the forefront of this brave new world, a symbol of the potential for human and Zorgan to work together. She worked tirelessly to build bridges, to foster understanding and cooperation. It was not an easy task. There were setbacks and challenges, moments when the old enmities threatened to resurface. But Alexis never lost hope, never lost sight of the vision that had brought them here. Years passed, and the bonds between human and Zorgan grew stronger. Joint scientific endeavors unlocked the secrets of the universe, shared artistic traditions, enriched both cultures. There were even whispers of a new kind of union, not of conquest, but of true partnership. And at the heart of it all was Alexis Novak, the woman who had dared to dream of a different way. She had faced down an emperor, had forged an alliance against all odds, and in doing so, she had changed the course of history. As she stood on the bridge of her ship, looking out at the stars that were now open to both human and Zorgan, Alexis felt a sense of profound hope. The universe was vast and filled with possibilities, and they had only just begun to explore them. She thought back to that fateful day when she had first faced the Zorgan fleet, armed only with her wits and her courage. She had taken a leap of faith, had dared to believe in a better way. And look at what they had achieved. The road ahead would not be easy, Alexis knew. There would be new challenges, new threats to face, but she also knew that together, human and Zorgan were stronger than they ever could be apart. For they had learned the most important lesson of all, that in the vastness of the cosmos, it was their differences that made them strong, and that in diversity, in understanding, lay the key to a brighter tomorrow. Alexis smiled, her heart full of hope and determination. The future was waiting, and they would face it together.